This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Clay, your reaction to Coach Petrino heading out to the Sin City, coaching some offense out there?
Well, for Bobby's sake, it's always a good thing. You know, Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Well, that's true.
So that's a good place. I will enjoy some late-night football. I'll stay up a little later. I always enjoy watching his teams or his offenses play, not necessarily his team, because it's a lot of the same stuff that we've seen. He's refined it a little bit. I don't think he's flipping offensive line sides anymore, weak side to strong side like he did. I guess we'll see Chris Klenak as their offensive line coach. He knows the West pretty good, so does Bobby. I mean, they've got those Montana ties from Carroll College. It'll be pretty close to that. I don't guess really Vegas is close to anything, maybe outside of L.A.
It's close to Vegas is what Vegas is close to.
Even like Reno, the next biggest city in Nevada is.
Well, it's not really close, Ty.
That's what I'm.
That is 2 tanks of gas from Vegas to Reno, and there's one place to stop, and you better not drive past it.
No, I think that's what you were getting ready to say is Reno's, 8 hour? I don't know how far a drive it would be. You get on a plane
it's 10 or 11.
Reno's northern Colorado, or California, rather.
It's San Francisco. Yeah.
Basically. But, all right, so one thing, and Chuck was texting during the break as well, and I hadn't even thought of this. He made a great point. Has UNLV used up all of their coaching salary pool hiring Bobby Petrino? And you say, well, what does that matter? Well, you thought it was a slam dunk deal for Michael Scherer to move right out there, maybe be the DC, but certainly leave to go with Barry Odom. You know, we don't know yet, but that's a great thought. Does that leave Michael Scherer, probably with no spot to make the kind of money he was making at Arkansas, Clay?
Yeah, that's interesting. Suppose that Barry Odom thought that out. I can't believe that he would leave Michael Scherer out of the equation as far as money. That's like you forgetting Ty, Tommy. I mean, Ty's like your son now, and it's. Yeah, I'm joking, but yeah, I think that Barry Odom and Michael Scherer are extremely close. If you hear now, Michael hadn't done many interviews at Arkansas, but I've talked to him, and he considers Coach Odom to be his dad, or like his dad. He has a dad, but I would be surprised unless he just says, "Hey, your best option is to stay at Arkansas." But the thing about it is, you don't know what the Arkansas situation is going to be yet because they haven't named a defensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator might be a linebacker coach, Tommy.
Right. And it's customary that generally the assistants stay through the bowl game. They generally get a bowl bonus that matters. I know they still make, $300,000 to $500,000, but another, I don't care who you are, another $50,000 or $75,000 matters. And I think it's professional courtesy that we're not going to just gut a coaching staff before a bowl game. So maybe this will be decided then.
Before signing day.
Right. I think it's an interesting thought to see what happens there, but I'm sure Bobby Petrino isn't going on the cheap to be the offensive coordinator out there. Well, I mean, he's not going to make millions, but I'm sure he's not going to be the lowest paid assistant on the staff.
I read, his salary at Missouri State, it wasn't substantial. I mean, he was, on a bounce back salary, so to speak. To get in the profession, to stay coaching. And so it wouldn't take much for it to be a raise.
Well, a few $100,000, wasn't it? So,
yeah, I mean, it's like $385 or something like that. So I don't know that he has to. I mean, you could give him $500,000, which is probably the going rate at UNLV for a coordinator, and you're still set with your salary pool. Again, what happens at Arkansas, we've got to wait and see on the defensive coordinator hire, and if there is a position for Michael Scherer, and he knows that.
Yeah. Michael Scherer may very well end up at UNLV, but until we know what Bobby's salary will be, that will come in the next days, or maybe later today, but probably in the next few days. It might give some insight. I just thought it was an interesting thought. I mean, Michael Scherer's a young guy, and newly married. You know a lot more about him than I do, Clay. But he's in his late 20s. You know, you can't make the wrong step or the wrong move at this point. It could take you a decade to recover from making the wrong move, and money does matter at an age like this where you can at least give yourself a very comfortable nest egg for a while.
Yeah, I think that what we do know about Michael Shearer now is that he can coach and he can recruit, and that's going to go a long ways, you know, as far as the jump start of his career. I mean, I think that there's knowledge of his successes at Arkansas. You know, it really gives you a lot of cachet that you took a converted defensive end and coached him to unanimous first-team All-America and one of the best defensive players in the SEC, which is saying an awful lot. That is really something, you know, to think that Drew Sanders hadn't played inside linebacker since high school, and he did it with Michael Shearer and converted him. So that helps him in recruiting. It helps him in any job search that he would be in.
So I'm sorry. With that said, could Michael Shearer do better than UNLV on his own right now?
Yeah, I mean, he might.
Based on what you just said, his resume
he could be defensive coordinator at Arkansas if he's. You know, I doubt they do that because they're going to be able to hire an established defensive coordinator, but that might be what's holding everything up. I think everybody would kind of raise eyebrows with that kind of a move, but I would consider it.
A lot of young coordinators across the country, particularly on the offensive side, but there's a lot of young guys that are, you know, a lot of them in their early 30s, but there's a lot of guys out there that don't have as much gray around the temple as they used to. They'll get it eventually that are already in coordinator spots.
How old is he again? 28?
Yeah, about your age.
Would you?
Well, let's don't compare him to Ty because he's more mature than Ty.
Yeah, I would probably agree on that. But I think we all agree this.
I mean, you just look at his haircut and you just like, yeah, this guy's more mature than Ty.
Yeah, he's got a good-looking haircut, and he's also more in shape, making more money amongst other things. But you presented a good point there, Tommy, just the recruiting angle. I think what every head coach.
I thought that was me.
Yeah,
Shearer was born in '93, so he's 29 now. He'll be just turned 29. He'll be 30 next November.
So my dad had a philosophy when he was trying to get hired as a pharmaceutical rep that he was getting told by all these like Pfizer and Glaxo and all these others, and it's like, oh, you don't have any experience. I'm not going to get any experience unless you hire me. And he ended up getting a job with Glaxo that way. So when it comes to play calling, Shearer really doesn't have a ton of that. I know he's relaying stuff to Barry and stuff like that, but like, when do you cross over that step? Do you do that in the SEC as the first time you're calling plays? I mean, that seems to be asking a lot, and I know I'm 28, 29, whatever. That seems to be asking that's a huge jump going from a position coach to a coordinator in this league, which we all agree this is a pivotal year for this football team next year.
But Clay, you could provide more insight, but it's not just calling plays. It's laying out the practice plans during the week. It's having a heavy hand in the type of players you're going to recruit, the coaches you're going to hire, the network you have of assistant coaches you can bring on board with you. It's to me, Clay, a lot more than just, hey, are we going to blitz on second down or not?
The obvious recommendation would be from Barry Odom that he's about to do that with him at UNLV. In other words, make him a coordinator. So he thinks he's ready. Now, it's a different pool as far as salaries, what he can get. And also, he knows that he can continue to guide him as he does those things, because he's going to walk, step by step with him. So I think it's probably a little bit of a long shot, but as you go down the list and you say, all right, I got this guy, or I can have Michael Shearer. I got this guy, or I got Michael Shearer. It's something to consider.
And going to UNLV, where there would be less pressure pack, less media pressure, less fan pressure, and you still get that step up. Well, you brought up, which is a good point, Dowell's taking a step up. He's going from a tight ends coach to an offensive coordinator. Barry's taking a step up. He's going from a defensive coordinator to a head coaching position. How much of a step up is it from going, if he's making the same pay, going from a Power 5 position coach to I guess still Power 5. No, it's not Power 5, but FBS defensive coordinator.
Let me give you an example you may or may not remember from 2006, and that was when Gus Malzahn left Arkansas as the quarterback coach to be the OC at Tulsa, and Frank Broyles, the late Frank Broyles, tried to sell us all on how that was a move up, Clay. I remember that vividly. And no one was really buying the fact that was even a lateral move at that point. So I think where Michael Scher's at in his career, though, in his career path, putting that coordinator tag next to his name is probably more important than what level you're at in the conference pecking order.
Well, I'll give you a more recent illustration. Barry Lunny going from Arkansas to Texas San Antonio, which to me is
a better example.
It's a great example.
Texas San Antonio is playing a better brand of football than UNLV. Got a better talent pool close. San Antonio is a great producer of talent. And you can go into, all across South Texas. But he was a tight ends coach. He needed to be a coordinator. And now he's coordinator at a Big Ten school. He's primed with another good season to be a head coach. Yeah. And that's the upward mobility that Michael Scher is probably looking at.
So here's why I think this can work out for everybody involved. And we know Odom and Petrino are involved and whoever follows. I think you're playing in that beautiful new stadium out there, Allegiant Stadium. You're 4 hours from Los Angeles. Vegas is a destination. If your parents want to come see you play, where can you not get a flight nonstop almost from anywhere in the country to come play in Vegas? It's a destination city. I think they can be a power in the Mountain West very soon and be back on their winning ways, and those guys will get a chance to move on.
And we don't know the magic ingredient, NIL. We don't know what they've got there. I assume if they win a little bit, that's a bottomless pit.
I'd bet on it.
You would bet on it. Pretty good there, man.
Where's the rim shot? Where's it at?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah. So, there's another thing about, working with Bobby Petrino. Michael Scher is going to get a lesson in offensive preparation every day in practice, which will serve him well as a head coach.
Yeah.
And
I'd bet on it.
Bobby may not share everything, but he's going to learn some things. And it might be, I don't want to do that. Or that works, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But I enjoy watching Bobby coach. I don't agree with everything he does, but it is a fascinating study in offensive genius. Let's just be honest.
Well, we saw it firsthand when they played here.
Yeah, and
I saw it. Yeah, in that was back when practices were open, and I went to a lot of them. There wasn't a whole lot to do, when you're doing, especially in the spring when you're doing monthly magazines. I could go out there and watch the whole practice, and I did. And I can remember. It was incredible to see the things that went on. I mean, it was sometimes it was a little bit of a circus because there were explosions everywhere.
Verbal explosions towards assistant coaches. Some of those guys still working for him. They get over it. They understand that's just Bobby being Bobby. And then there's Willie Robinson, who's fallen off the face of coaching. I mean, never to be seen again. He'd had enough of that.
We got a thing about Willie Robinson. He's allegedly growing something.
Yeah, that's urban legend.
Is
I
it?
think.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can tell you this is not urban legend. Clay may remember this. He had a golf bag made out of football leather.
That's
the only one I'd seen that. I mean, and not just like a piece of it. It was the whole bag.
We're going to tell Willie Robinson stories. I can do that for 3 shows. My favorite was going to the Sugar Bowl, and Willie had coached in New Orleans, and so I asked him, where's a good place to go, and I meaning a place to eat, right? Wouldn't that be your interpretation of what I'm asking for?
Yeah.
He goes, I'll tell you where I went every day after practice. Which is early in the day. Remember, NFL does not practice late. They don't have any classes to worry about. They get that over with. And so he gave me a place. He said, this is out close to Lake Pontchartrain. This was in my neighborhood. But he says, you'll enjoy it. So I took my wife.
Oh, gosh.
And we walked in, and all it was a bar. no food. That's where Willie went after every practice.
I thought you were going to say
He did. I complained to him, and he said, "I didn't tell you it was a place to eat. You should have asked. You said a place to go."
Yeah, well,
he said, "That's where I went."
you're the one asking the questions. You should know. You should know to ask a follow-up.
A reporter should ask better question, and there should be follow-up.
Your follow-up should be, what do I order there? And if he just said a bourbon on the rocks,
Bourbon
and you
on
said,
the
well, no
rocks.
to eat. And, they don't have anything to eat. Oh.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say strip
the
club.
only thing they had to eat were peanuts.
Well, if you want something to eat, let me tell you where to go. You guys already know this, but Sassy's has been doing it for over 13 years. Barbecue, catfish, burgers, and more. Eric Busselman live there on Monday nights.
Sass Attack.
You can get the Sass Attack. Was that the burgers? Got the pulled pork, the burger patty, kitchen sink, everything on it. So you can try that out. You like the chicken fried steak over there.
I'm a big fan of the chicken fried steak.
The honey sriracha smoked wings are probably my favorite thing on the menu. But whatever you're looking for, they've got it. Catfish, burgers, barbecue, and more. Nobody does it better than Sassy's. Eat, drink, and be sassy.
It's the Sass Attack. Has the prime brisket, pulled pork, smoked sausage, onions, pickles, cheddar cheese, barbecue sauce on French bread with the sidekick. I will be getting that very soon. All right, on the subject of Petrino, keeping this going, there's a sigh of relief this morning. When I saw that tweet, I was relieved.
Oh, no, it's A&M.
Legitimately.
Oh, no. College
that
Station.
it's not an SEC. None of you all want to play him in the SEC. Not a single one of you want to go up against after what happened this year. If he did that at Missouri State,
especially Arkansas,
Springfield, Missouri, and I know he had a lot of guys that he brought in the portal, what do you think he could do with the #1 recruiting class, which I know they've lost a lot of guys, but what do you think he could do at an SEC school? I am giddy as a clam this morning that he is not, or I don't think Arkansas is going to ever schedule UNLV. I am extremely happy he is not coming to this league because you don't want to play him. I didn't want to play Hugh Freeze. He's now here. We got to deal with that now.
At Texas A&M, he could get another Lamar Jackson or another Ryan Mallett. No question.
It'd be easy. Say, hey, I got a Heisman Trophy winner. I got one of the best quarterbacks in Arkansas history. Brian Braum was great under him. He can't do. Maybe he can do that at UNLV, but you don't have to play them.
Justin asked a good question on our text line. Does Bobby Petrino get him a Malik Hornsby to start out? I don't know. We're trying to connect dots here, but that'd be interesting, Clay. That'd make it saucy.
If Hornsby learns how to pass, I mean, he just was not accurate, and the first time he sails one 10 yards over, the wide receiver that's wide open. I mean, I think Bobby would have an explosion, and he will do that. He did not show anybody at Arkansas that he was an accurate passer. He can dazzle. Now, Lamar Jackson was accurate. There wasn't a problem with his passing ability. He might not have been real quick to go through his progressions. He's better at that now, kind of like Jalen Hurts. But that guy had an accurate arm. And that's just the problem, that Hornsby had. And it was obvious in practice. When I watched the practice, it wasn't consistent. And that's why they were reluctant to play him. And ultimately, you saw it in games.
Different thing.
Mississippi State and LSU, you saw it.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated on this. I know that Matt, and Matty T and Phil will have updates on this. Derek and Zach will have updates on this as well. That's the big news of the day. Bobby Petrino going out with Barry Odom to UNLV, reported by Chris Lowe.
All right, Arkansas plays Bradley in North Little Rock. We'll discuss that with Clay, maybe get his thoughts on Arkansas's performances past and present at Simmons Bank Arena. We'll do that in just a minute. That game's not on TV, by the way. Listen here on the radio. For everything else on TV, make the move to Dish, because right now you can get a 3-year price guarantee from Dish from World of Wireless, your local premier Dish dealer. What that means is you're not locked in for 3 years. You're not committed for 3 years, but your price is guaranteed not to go up for 3 years. They got plans starting at $79.99 right now at World of Wireless. It's a free weekend coming up. Voice-activated remotes, movie channels, installation, equipment, and more thrown in for free. Call 877-305-DISH for all the details. 877-305-3474.
We'll talk more about this game coming up with Clay. Stay with us. It is the Morning Rush.
the backcourt. Stolen by Council, and a one-hand dunk by Ricky.
The Gimme the Hogs Chuck podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Brought to you by Weichert Realtors, the Griffin Company. You can listen to it at hitthatline.com or wherever you hear your favorite podcast.
Let's talk some Arkansas basketball. They are at home in a different home venue, but the net rankings are counting this as a home game against Bradley this Saturday. We're going to tell you what Muss had to say and talk about this line coming up.
They're not counting this as neutral site?
That's what Muss said yesterday. I was surprised by that.
They've got ads on the radio right here saying
It's neutral site.
Best neutral site venue. Maybe that's why they're not doing it. All right, we'll get back to that. We're brought to you by WT Equipment. 8 locations to take care of customers across North Louisiana and Arkansas as well. They're in Searcy. They're also in Springdale. And if you're looking for New Holland equipment, they have it. Sales, service, and the parts you need to take care of your equipment after the sale. WT is also your source for construction equipment. So if you need a compact track loader or an excavator, they have not only brand new equipment, but they also have pre-owned equipment for agricultural and construction equipment. So if you're ready to invest, maybe you need to make a purchase before the end of the year for tax purposes. WT Equipment's there to help you. Find the location nearest you online at WTEquip.com. That's WTEquip.com.
Clay, I was pretty surprised to find that this team's 12-10 inside of Simmons Bank Arena, Alltel Arena, Verizon Arena, whatever you want to call it. First time Nick Smith is actually getting a chance to play in this arena. He's watched games here before. Did that stat surprise you that they're not as strong here in North Little Rock?
Well, they played some good opposition there. I mean, better than some of the games they played in Fayetteville in non-conference. So you kind of have to look at the opposition. And then I guess I'm not surprised because I know that's the record. If you know something is true, you're not surprised when you throw it to me, because they've lost a bunch of games there, and they played like crap there a bunch. And I think that, early in the season they haven't, got everything, lined out, and they've also made a habit of playing there right after finals, which is another thing that's, you haven't had the team together. It's the one time in the year when practices are missing players, because there's some days that, a guy's got a test or he's preparing for a test and you don't have him. So you lose some continuity for that week, and you get it back pretty quick. But they played like crap there, and they didn't have their defense together last year, and they gave up layups and in the pick and roll. They were just not on the same page defensively, and they got that fixed. They're a better team than they were this time last year, in my opinion, right now.
When Ty mentioned that stat earlier in the show, I wasn't surprised because we know the results, but my first retort to that was, well, this is the most talented team they've ever sent to Little Rock to play in this arena. Maybe not the most talented team to ever play in Little Rock, but the most talented team to play in this building is going Saturday. So I don't think any of those previous 22 games matter at all, because Arkansas's team right now would beat any of those previous teams that's played down there.
94-95 didn't play there, Tommy, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
I don't believe that building was
12-10, 22 years. Math on that, at least for I think that's right. I don't know 100%, but at least math-wise,
that building's that old.
Well, if they didn't play in there, then you'd say that's true, because this is the most talented team since then.
Yeah.
There's not been another team that's even close, as far as if you look at the recruiting stars, how many 5 stars and 4 stars. The complete roster is of scholarship players is that way, and they've never had that before.
We're kind of inching towards what needs to be brought up. Arkansas is a 20.5-point favorite in this game. I think they're going to win. Bradley, again, has won their conference the past 2 years. I think they're going to win this game. But, Tommy, I wouldn't bet Arkansas to cover. 21 points is a lot of points in a college basketball game. And I know Nick and Devo and even Kamani, who played it, I guess you can't call him Mueller anymore, but for Little Rock, they want to show out. But I think this is going to be a tough game. They're getting a guy back, I think one of their premier scorers that Eric talked about yesterday. I don't think they're going to cover. But if you do want to bet on the Hogs or you want to bet against them, you can do that on the Bet Saracen app. That is one of the games that has been up not just since today. College basketball games usually get put up a day before. They usually have the Arkansas games related several days before traditional betting sites. Now, the great thing about Bet Saracen, here in Arkansas, we like things to stay local. Bet Saracen keeps things local. It is a state casino, so you can always get on there, and they have weird, odd things. Like they had the Battle of the Ravine between Ouachita Baptist and Henderson State. They always have the Arkansas games. They have college basketball. They have a bunch of in-game props, betting, all that. You can always find that on the Bet Saracen app. Again, you can download it on your iPhone, you can download it on your Android, or you can go to betsaracen.com. And if you're looking for how to play video, there's a great one by Jancy Sheets that you can find. Again, Bet Saracen, the #1 sports betting app here in Arkansas. Clay, where's a good spot to eat in North Little Rock?
Well, when you say North Little Rock, you need to include 100 yards from that arena, which is Little Rock. And any place in that river market's pretty good. There's 5 or 6 good restaurants there. North Bar on JFK is one of my favorites. You can get to the river market quicker than you can get over to JFK and North Bar. But their burgers, they got more than burgers, but they've got a bologna burger that is just delicious.
What's up your alley, Tommy?
Well.
Yeah, and then I would say my wife's favorite, if you want to really dazzle something, you go to Bruno's Little Italy, which is in downtown Little Rock now, not in the river market. Better get reservations. They've got valet parking out front, but that was like my mom's favorite place when they were over in Asher, and I went to school with one of the boys that's running it now. It's super duper place. Yeah. I want to talk about the betting line a little bit. Maybe we don't have time now for that.
Yeah, let's do that on the other side of the break.
Yep.
If I looked it up right, if I didn't miss one, 99 appears to be the first time they played in North Little Rock.
99. So. Well. Then your statement,
unless I missed one, I don't think there's been a more talented team.
Then I would say your statement's probably pretty valid based on that. Guys, what y'all think about this news that came out?
Well, they need stability right now in Starkville. Players need to know everything's going to be okay. And I think they need some comfort probably within the administration. There is no playbook on how to deal with the situation they have in Starkville with the untimely, sudden death of Mike Leach. So, Clay, I think this is about stability and obviously administration, which – they got an interim AD. Somebody's seen enough out of Arnett to believe he can be the leader for the program. Yeah,
and let's just be honest. With the kind of money that's coming in from the SEC, if they want to pay him off, they can. I don't look at it like they locked him up for 4 years and that's who they're going with. I'd say they will assess after the first year and assess after the second year.
Yeah, we'll have to kind of wait and see how he does, but they did make that decision. We'll see how it ends up going in Starkville. All right, moving on in your SEC update. SEC basketball this year got this stat. Tom, I brought it up with you earlier, Clay. This is the first time since 2006 that Alabama has been ranked basketball-wise above their football team. 16 years, and Nate Oates has got a good squad. They come in 2. Bud Walton Arena coming up on January the 11th. Should be a fun one after you play Auburn on January the 7th. But SEC basketball-wise, Chuck was talking about in his latest podcast, it's pretty deep this year. It's pretty solid.
Alabama has dismantled some #1 teams. Let's just be honest, the last 2 years. But then they've also stuck it up against some other teams and lost some games at home. So this is a young team, a lot like Arkansas. Extremely talented, extremely long, completely different than what they've had. They had no really length last year, and you could play volleyball around the net with those guys, and you can't now. I watched a little bit of the Houston game, and that was a demolition in the second half.
I remember in the offseason, Clay, you were talking about the recruiting class that they brought in and how it was a bunch of like 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" guys, similar to what Arkansas has. So that should be a fun matchup. Could be similar to what they had at Auburn last year.
A lot of talent. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jalen Hyatt, Tommy's going to forgo the Orange Bowl and enter the 2023 NFL Draft. The Fred Biletnikoff Award winner had an incredible year for Tennessee. It was unbelievable, the duo with him and Hendon Hooker. not surprising to see him make this decision, even though it's a marquee game.
No, and like we've talked about this with the bowl games, it's going to be a growing trend of more and more players that opt out because they want to get a jump start on their NFL prep, their combine prep, and just the risk of injury. They've made some money with the NIL, Clay. They just don't want to risk the double common money they think they may have coming.
Yeah, everybody watched what happened to Alabama's wide receiver core last year, and it's the agents have made some hay with that in their estimation. In other words, you don't need to jeopardize. We're good. You're a first rounder right now. You have no advantage. You're not going to move up the draft board with a good game in the bowl game. You're right where you need to be. This is what happened to these guys last year, and Matt Corral is another example. So don't play. They're not playing.
Yeah. All right, that's your SEC update. It's brought to you by Ashley Air. If you need a plumber, call the name you know and trust. That's Ashley Air. They take care of your heating and cooling systems, but they also take care of your plumbing needs. Right now, you can take $50 off any plumbing repair or get a $129 drain cleaning and a 2-year parts and labor warranty to go along with it. Clogged drains or leaky faucets, we call Ashley Air. Go to ashley.air.com to schedule your plumbing service. That's ashley.air.com. Proud sponsors of Razorback Athletics.
Talk to Sterling in Center Ridge. Good morning, Sterling.
Hey, guys. Talking about the guys opting out, we didn't talk about this before. Opting out of bowl games, and Clay, as usual, made great points about what happened last year. But the greatest example of all was Willis McGahee. I mean, his career almost ended in that national championship game. Woo. And I don't blame none of these guys for doing what they're doing. I've always been like this. If you have any doubt about playing, you don't need to play. I mean, any doubt, because you don't want to have something happen and you regret it for the rest of your life. But if you're gung ho on playing, I wouldn't talk the young man out of it if he wants to play. I just let him go do his thing. But what I called about was Bobby Petrino, and I understand Bobby Petrino. He's one of the greatest play callers we have ever seen, especially for me. To me, he calls plays that could work for that particular down and distance, and at the same time, it's setting up a play later in the game or even later in the season. I mean, he has plays that's drawn up that if he see this look at any point in this season, he's going to do it. It don't matter if it's 6 seconds on the clock or the first play of the game. He's going to call it up. The plays against LSU right before halftime. Most people take a knee. He ran the play, ran the ball 8 times in a row against LSU, and that's when I fell in love with Petrino. When he ran that ball down their throat, ran it play after play after play. That game down there in Little Rock. The same game I'm talking about in that fourth down and 3, going for the touchdown. But I said all that to say this, though. I don't fear the man. The man, after he played us, he lost 3 or 4 more games in a row at Missouri State this season. He got beat 64-14 to Western Illinois this season. I mean, it was the reason why the man didn't get other jobs. I mean, if he went back to Louisville after the scandal, and after Lamar left, the place went to shambles at Louisville. He got ran out of there. So, I mean, he's a great coach and all that, but he ain't Pop Warner to me. He ain't Newt Rodney to me or Bear Bryant, Eddie Robinson. I mean, he ain't in that category. Great play caller, yes. But a guy that if he would have been at A&M or anywhere in the SEC, I'm going to shake in fear of him. I just can't. What y'all think about that?
Well, certainly appreciate the call. That's an interesting kind of layer you bring into the conversation, him transitioning from the head coach, where you are the alpha, you can handle everything, to being a subsidiary, to being under another guy. And I guess you technically are a lower below the athletics director. But, guys, how do you think Bobby handles when Barry tells him to do something? Like, do you think he's going to adapt? Do you think, I mean, he hadn't done that in how many years? Since Auburn? Has it been that long since he's been an OC somewhere?
I guess we don't know. We don't know how he's going to handle it. But I think that he's probably in a different station in life. How I handled things when I was 35 and how I handle things when I'm 68 are completely different. He's not 68, but he's a veteran, and he probably will handle it just fine. and understands and he may be looking forward to that, Ty. There's sometimes you're like, man, I'm ready for somebody to take all this crap.
Yeah.
And there is crap when you're the head coach, and you just think about what Sam Pittman is dealing with today. Bobby Petrino suddenly has seen all of that disappear from his plate. I listened to Barry Odom talk about all the things that he got to kind of flush when he left Missouri and came to Arkansas. He got back to the what do they say, the raw coaching. You're dealing with players again. Bobby might relish all of that, and I get what Sterling's saying, but I will stand by what we said earlier. He probably would have gotten some great players at Texas A&M and enjoyed. Now, so I disagree a little bit with what people say. He was like great play caller. Well, I think it's more about how he adjusts to matchups and how he can look at the opposition and probe and really find your weaknesses and take what he can do against those. And it's not about just, he calls plays. No, he moves the pieces of, it's a chess game to him, the way he moves his guys around the field and takes advantage and puts his best guy against your worst guy. And that's what I saw in the Arkansas game. And it didn't matter what you did, he found them. Yeah. And now, I don't know how much preparation they did in the summer for Arkansas and how that blew up the rest of the season. Like they didn't do the same preparation for some of those other teams that they were in their division. Don't know, but that there's, and also injuries can really play a role when you're at that level. You don't have any depth. So but it was. I've always enjoyed watching his teams, and I enjoyed watching his practices when he was at Arkansas. I made sure to get out there to see that stuff because it was fascinating to me, and not seeing too many offensive guys. I enjoyed watching Gus's practices, what he was doing, and there was method to the madness.
Yeah. Back to Sterling's question about how they're going to interact, and you followed up on it, and how's Bobby going to respond? I can only imagine that's a conversation they had in the interview process. I would imagine maybe Barry Odom and Sam Pittman had a similar conversation when he was brought on board. So, to me, as the general manager of the operation we work at, if I was going to hire someone that had been a long-time general manager, that would be a question that I would ask. Hey, you've been the boss of yourself. I mean,
that can work both ways, Tommy.
Exactly. How's this dynamic? I think that's something that's got to be on the table from the get-go before you enter into the relationship.
Barry was an asset for Sam, without question. And Bobby might have convinced him, hey, I can be what you were for Sam. I'll be an asset. I'm going to help you.
And Bobby's at that station in life. You talk about different places in life that you're at, Clay. He can start to see the finish line in the distance. Barry Odom's 46 or 7 years old. He still sees 20 years ahead of him. Yeah, Bobby Petrino's not seeing 20 years ahead of him. Yeah, he's thinking the last job or two here.
He's seen that light coming out of the tunnel, and it might be an oncoming train. So he's like, I think I'm gonna be an assistant now and get out of this Missouri State. It was a long year at Missouri State last year.
Never heard it described that way, but I guess that's definitely one way you can do it. Clay, we appreciate you jumping on with us as always on Thursdays. Good stuff on.
Yeah, that was a Lou Holtz line, by the way.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff on Coach Odom, Coach Petrino, some basketball that we got to look forward to on Saturday. Again, a reminder, listen to it right here on ESPN Arkansas and hitthatline.com. If you pull up your TV guide, you're not going to find it anywhere. Clay, are you going to this
Thanks,
game?
Ty. No, I'm gonna be right here. I almost said I'm going to watch it on TV, but I guess I won't watch it on TV.
He's going to huddle around the radio.
Listen to his good friend.
I'll let Chuck paint the picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm going to do what I did this past Saturday. I'm going to be in the arena and pop on the Comrex and listen to his radio call while I'm watching the game.
Yeah, nice.
I'm going to do the exact same thing, and then Zach and I will have Hog Reaction following that game.
Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.